let's just say you log into the game, and I'll change the window back so you can see. Change window. You log into the game and you're at the Lumbridge Bank. You can't see that, but that's where we are. So right off the bat, I don't have anything in my inventory. So how do we get something out of my inventory? So, and I gotta go back. This is just very scuffed. I'm sorry. So you see we're at the bank. I don't have anything in my inventory. So what you do is the bank is closed. So what I would do is go to comment right here, and it prompts you with this little window right here. And I would type like get X. So we know the part of the script we're working on right now. So the way Script Factory is designed is it reads from the top down. So right up here, it'll read all the way down, and it has checks and actions. So in this example, the check would be, do I have the axe in my inventory? The answer is no. So we have to create a part of the script that gets the axe out of your inventory. So let's see, the bank is closed. If bank is closed, if inventory does not contain items. So right here, there's this is where you would either type the name of the axe, so like bronze axe, steel axe, whatever it is, or you could get the item ID, and I could link this after the stream. But essentially, this is a website that has like every item ID in the game, pretty much. I'm not sure how often they update it, but it has a lot of the items you'll look for. So I like to use item IDs in my scripts because when I first started, and I don't know if it's still true or not, but the game would be kind of inconsistent in reading if you wanted something, if you used the name of it instead of the item ID. So I just kind of got into the habit of using item IDs. So in this example, we search for bronze axe. And I guess it's woodcutting, bronze axe right here. So you can't actually, there's no little picture, so you have to kind of know what it is, unfortunately. But right here we have bronze axe normal, and we have bronze axe noted, and we have bronze axe placeholder. And what that is normal is the physical bronze axe in your inventory or bank. The noted is a noted version of the bronze axe in your inventory, and the placeholder is a placeholder in your bank. So in this example, we would want the bronze axe normal, which is item ID 1351. And again, alternatively, you could just type bronze axe if you didn't want to do this. So right now what we have is the bank is closed. Our inventory does not contain a bronze axe. So we want to open the bank. Open bank. So I manually did that, but that's what it would do if it ran. The bank is now open. So what we would want to do is, if bank is open now, if inventory does not contain the axe, so you could just copy and paste this down again. There's a little rearrange button at the bottom here. And if it does not contain the axe, withdraw the axe. Withdraw item. You can't see that. Here it is. So the same concept. So you're putting the same ID in here, 1351, or the name, bronze axe, whichever one you want. Make sure you switch it to ID because that's what we're doing. And the amount, we're withdrawing 1. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see, because you said it's hard to read, and I want to explain what we did here. So what we have here is this part right here opens the bank because we don't have the axe in our inventory. And this is we're withdrawing the axe from the bank because it's not in our inventory, but the bank is open now. So what we could do is change the window, change window. And we can run it and you'll see it will withdraw the axe. So that's withdrawing the axe. What we could do now is you wanted to do randomization, right? Does this make sense to you guys? If it doesn't make sense, let me know and I could explain things again, or it's okay to ask questions. Just one second. Okay, sorry. Okay, so another tool is this explivs, I think that's how you say it, map. And this is basically a map of the entire game with all the instances up at the top. Let me, has all the instances at the top. And this is really handy because in this example, we will create two, I guess you could call them like chopping zones or working zones or like skilling zones. Um, so what you could do is at the top here, there's a little square and you left click that and then you click once where you want the first corner, drag down where you want it and click again. And you see these numbers up here? This is the area that we just created. Alternatively, you could go into the game and pull um, the coordinates of your character, or you could use your mouse and do it that way. But this is a bit faster, and you don't have to, run around the whole map to find areas you want. So what we do now, I don't think you could see it if I zoom into this, so I'll leave this open like this. Oops. We go into other variable, area, create new area, and you can't see that. So I think you just copy and paste the whole thing. Maybe I think it's part of it. Area chords. So you copy these coordinates up here, these four numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put it, yeah, you can see that. Put it up here, and now you see it populated these boxes right here, and essentially that's this area right here is now this area you're creating. So what we could do is call this like log area 1, I guess. Yeah, I'll link all this. I'll link these at the end. Um, so let's see. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Uh, so I think there's some normal trees here. I'm not totally sure, but let's just hope there are. And I know there's some over here. So let's do this over here. So grab another area, just like we did before. And we go to other variables, area, create new area, and paste area up here. And we'll see if it works. Yeah, it works. Very nice. And we'll call this log area 2. So right now what we have is kind of looks like this, I think. We have two areas right here, 1 and 2. So what we're going to do is we're at the bank in the Slumbridge Castle, and what we'll do is we'll generate a random integer, and if it's 1, we'll go to area 1, and if it's 2, we'll go to area 2, and um, that will be your randomization. And this concept applies to a lot of things where you could generate a random integer, and that will, help you randomize your script. But in this case, we'll use it for picking skilling areas. So the way that works is uh, we go to debug comment because we want to keep things organized, and we'll call this pick wood cutting area, I guess. And what we have to do is, in order to create this RNG method, we have to go to other variables, integer, create new integer. And you could call it whatever you want, but since we're using this for log cutting areas, I guess call it like wood cutting area. And we're going to set the value to 0. And I'll explain in a minute why. So it might be a little hard to see, but if you look over here where my mouse is, we have the variable list, and you'll see what we've done so far. We have the two areas, and we have our integer for deciding which area we go to. So in order to create the RNG to pick the woodcutting area, we just created our integer. So now what we do is we go to other variables, integer, and generate random integer. Let's see, can't see that. So what we have here is our random integer that we just created, which is set to 0, and we have two areas to cut, right? So the minimum is going to be 1, and the maximum is going to be 2, because we want to pick at least 1, right? But we don't want to pick more than 2 because then it just won't go to 1 potentially. So in this example, we'll put min 1 and max 2. Now, this by itself is fine and dandy, but you need a check to initiate it. And so if you remember, when we created the integer, we set it to 0. So what you would do in this case for the check is you'd go to other variable, integer, get integer. Move it over. So this is our integer we created, the woodcutting area, and it's equal to, and there's different options, but in this case we're doing equal to 0. And we want to drag it up. So you see we have the check and then the action, which might be a little hard to see. We'll change the window here. 1 second. So we have the check and the action. So in order for the script to generate a random integer, the integer has to be 0. What does that mean? It's 0 right now because we didn't decide which woodcutting area to go to. But once we generate either 1 or 2, then it goes to the woodcutting area. Does that make sense? So what it's going to do is it's going to generate other variables, integer, get integer. Up here at the top again, if integer equals 1, right, then we go walk. Now, this is another topic I'm going to mention here. Let's see. I'm going to create a I'll zoom out, change windows. Now, I don't know if it got better or not, but web walking is kind of inconsistent in my opinion. So in this example, this is woodcutting area 1, and you see how there's a lot of empty spaces. Like if you walk here, you're fine, right? There's no tree. But I think it used to be the case where if you decided to walk here, there's a tree, right? So it kind of like messes with the walking. Um, so what I like to do is I like to set a position within my area that I know I'm going to walk to, and I haven't had any issues with the web walking doing it that way. So in this example, um, let's see, you see these numbers up here, uh, 1, 2, 3. These are the XY coordinates, and the Z coordinate means the level you're on, which is 0, which is the ground level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick a random, oops, oh no, something like that. I'm going to pick a random position in this area and make a position. So we'll zoom out again. Oh, we're already zoomed out. We're going to go to others, variable, position, new position. And we're going to call this wood cutting, what did we call these? Log area 1. And we have to get the position. Now there's various ways to get the position. You could quite literally walk out here and create a position. What is it called? It's called like create position under my character or something like that. And um, there's various ways to get a position, but in this case we'll use the map right here. So 3189. Z is 0 because it's ground level, and 3244. So right now, if you can imagine, there's a specific tile somewhere, I forget exactly which one, but a specific tile it's going to walk to when it wants to walk to this woodcutting area 1, which will hopefully avoid web walking issues. So let's see. So we are at this part right here. I'll zoom. Uh, you definitely could set up poly areas. I mean, like if you wanted to, like you're talking about like drawing around the trees like this, for example, or something like that. You could. I mean, what might happen is the script might, when you interact with the tree, it might like try to interact with this tree out here that's outside the woodcutting area, and then it creates like new issues. So I just like to know where I'm going to walk to, and then yeah, I know what. What's that? Debug is useful when you think you did something right and it doesn't work as you would expect, and then it really helps you narrow things down. Um, what am I sharing? Let's see. Okay, so we're going to go to woodcutting area 1. So remember we just generated a random integer between 1 and 0, 1 and 2. In this case, if we get integer 1, we are going to go to the woodcutting area 1. So we're going to go to walk up here, walk to position, and remember we just created the log area 1 position. Now, there's various options here. Exact location, this would quite literally walk it to the position we inputted in. I'm not sure how many tiles off it would walk to if you did not click that. It might be like 1 or 2 tiles off. I'm not sure the total range, but it's probably not exactly where you intended to go. Ignore checks. I believe that's for like quest requirements and like agility shortcuts and things like that. So like if let's see, where is it? Where's that agility shortcut? I think this might be included in here. This agility shortcut when you go to Varrock between the Lumbridge Castle and Varrock. I think that might include it. There's like various shortcuts where like if you did the quest, then you'd be able to walk through it. Like I think in this example, like there's an elf quest over here that you could only walk through this pass if you completed the quest. And so in this example, if you had ignored checks on, it wouldn't check if you completed the quest or not. It would just assume you already did. Let's see. Disable camera. The camera moves around by itself. Sleep while moving. Break if under attack. Break on death. These could be kind of useful if you're like a low level and you get trashed by those highway bandits, and then you want to like create a new method for like running away from them or whatever. And disable run is kind of self-explanatory. Let's see. I usually include break on death because what might happen is like if you're, oops, that's not good. In this example, if we are, okay, that's a little annoying. If we are walking to the log area and like, let's just pretend there's like a highway bandit here and he attacks you and he kills you, then you get sent back to the, well, you get sent back to the Grim Reaper now, I guess. But wherever you get sent back to, um, you'll just keep trying to walk back to this area over and over and over. And so what you might want to do is you might want to create a new method to say, hey, I just died. Let's do something else besides just trying to constantly walk back to the woodcutting area. Yeah, there's a mugger in here. We'll add something for that. Uh, Walk to position log area 1. And then since we have 2 areas, we're going to do if other variables. I don't think you can see this. Oh, you can, sorry. Other variables integer get integer. Woodcutting area equals 2. And now we have to create another position in woodcutting area 2, which is like somewhere here. So we'll just guesstimate. So we're going to other variables into position, sorry, create new position. Just like we did position 1, we're just doing the exact same thing except for position 2, which was like somewhere here-ish. And 3220. Log area 2. So if position or integer is 1, walk to position 1. If integer is 2, walk to position log area 2, exact location, break on death. So let's see. Some things you might want to add to this, which I guess we could do now, is since we're woodcutting, right? Um, what if you want to deposit all your logs, but you only want to go back to woodcutting when you deposited them? So what we could do ahead of time is uh, we'll do 2 things. One, we'll do bank logs comment. Sorry, just so we're organized. And then let's see, change windows just so you could see uh, where we have these walk to parts right here. What we'd want to do is we could say like if inventory does not contain and we'll get the ID for logs. Sorry, where is it? Oh man, where is this? Um, I mean, if it works for you, then I would say do it. In my experience, like I've had a lot of inconsistencies where you'll tell it to walk to an area, but it'll walk just outside the area, and then like it breaks the whole script. So I try to tell it to walk to the exact position so I know exactly where it's going to be. And for me, I found that more reliable. But if you're having success with walk to area, then I would say go for it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's what I kind of do, except instead of a small area, I just do a position. So it's kind of similar concept. Um, let's see. Can you see? Yeah, you can. So you can't see this. Sorry, this is a little. I'm trying to jump back and forth so you could see things. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pretend that our inventory is full of logs, even though it's not. We're just going to pretend. So we went to the website to pick the ID for logs. And again, you could just type in logs if you want and you don't want to use the IDs. But in this case, we'll use IDs, which is 1511. So right here, I'll zoom in again because you don't have to see that. Right here, uh, we're going to say if inventory uh, if inventory does not contain items, and this supports lists, but in this case, it's only one item, so we're just going to put one item and change the type to ID because we're using IDs. And we have to drag it up a little bit. So what this is saying is if our inventory does not contain normal logs, then walk to area 1. And then we'll just copy and paste it down to the area 2 because it's basically just a clone, just a different area. Okay, so bank logs. So again, we're just going to pretend like we have a inventory full of logs, which we don't, but pretending. So we'll say um, we'll create a area and a position around our character again at the bank. I'll change the scene so you can see it. Uh, let's see. So this is the map again. What we'll do is we'll Z up, which means we're going up a floor, but that's not the right one, right? So we gotta go up again. And now we're at the bank. So see, we're at the bank on this map, and we're at the bank in the game. So we want to create a position. I usually do an area and then a smaller position inside, um, but there's various ways to do it. I'll show you, I guess, both, so you can see. So we're just grabbing an area like we did before, and we'll just delete that because it has other areas. It's a little confusing. So we'll grab the area up here, eventually. And so see how in this case it has set plane 2, where before it had like nothing at all because it was at ground level, but this is at the level 2. So we'll go create an area again, copy paste, and we'll call this Lumbridge Bank. And then we will create a position that we're going to walk to every time within this bank. Let's see. I guess we'll use this 3208. So we go to other variables, position, create new position. 3208, 3217. And don't forget to set Z position to 2 because we're not on the ground floor anymore. So go back to zooming in again so you can see. Okay, so again, we're pretending we have logs in our inventory, which we don't. So we'll say if my player, you can't see the drop-down menu. So that's a problem. You can't see the drop-down menu, but then it's hard to read the text. It's kind of not very good. If my player area contains my player, lumbered bank. If inventory inventory, you could either do if inventory is full, which is very broad. It'll check for like anything in your inventory to see if it's full, or you could say if inventory contains normal logs, and then it'll check for normal logs. But we'll just say if inventory is full. Sorry, you're really quiet. What was that? Yeah, it's. I think it was. Shiles was saying it was hard to read this, but at the same time, if I'm zooming in, focused in on. Oh, really? On mine, I. Sorry. On my end, I couldn't see it, so I thought you couldn't either. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Okay. So if inventory is full, um, if bank is closed, then open bank. So we'll pretend the bank is open now, and we'll say we'll copy this down again. If area contains my player Lumbridge Bank, you don't necessarily have to do this. Eventually, like if your script gets more complex, you want to be like very specific on where you're doing things and what you're doing. In this specific example, it's not necessary, but maybe it's just a good habit to be very specific on where you're doing things. So if area contains my player Lumbridge Bank, if inventory is full, so we're just copying down things again. Now in this case, bank is open, and see how it messed up the method number. You got to shift that down. Deposit, what was it, 1511? Bank, deposit, all items, 1511. And you got to shift it down again because it automatically went up. All right, so what we have here is the banking for the logs. So it just ran back from the woodcutting area. It opened up the bank because the inventory was full, and it deposited the logs. And now because we already added it up here, if inventory does not contain 1511, which is the logs, it will um, it will go back to the woodcutting area. Now, what you could do is, in this case, once it generates the integer to decide where it's going to go, it's just going to stick with that until you change it. So right now in this example, like say it said go to area 1, it's just going to constantly go back and forth between the bank and area 1. So what you could do is um, somewhere, let's say You could, so I'll say this. Some people say don't stack things. I think it's okay to stack. And what I mean by that is, see how it says deposit all logs? What you could do is stack integer, uh, generate random integer, or excuse me, don't do that. Variables, integer, perform operation. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the woodcutting area set as 0. What is that going to do? After you deposit your logs, it's going to set the woodcutting area to 0, and then it's going to decide which area to go to. So it's not necessarily going to run back and forth to area 1 over and over. It could potentially go to 2. It could go to 1 and then 2, then 1 and back and forth, or some sort of combination. So if you wanted more, what's that? Yeah, we got a. No, it's okay. We got. Yeah. I would I would try to use stacking um, sparingly because it's it, it's not always going to work. Some cases it works like perfectly and it saves you time and it's great. It's the best thing ever. In this case, it's fine, but um, you know, see what works best for you. See what what you like to do. In this case, it's fine. So we're gonna keep it in here. So right now, what it does is it deposited the logs and it's going to set the integer back to 0 and it's going to decide which area to run to. So in this example, this is actually like a quote unquote complete woodcutting script where it's going to go. Oh, sorry, that's totally not true. Don't listen to what I said. In this example, what it's going to do is it's going to run to the areas, but it's not going to interact with the logs or the trees, excuse me. So it's definitely not a very good woodcutting script because it doesn't actually woodcut. So let's see. Yeah, so yeah, we don't have that, and we don't have the actual wood cutting part. So we'll add the wood cutting part. So we're going to go to other, debug, comment, and we'll call this, I don't know, wood cutting. So right now, I don't actually know the IDs of the trees off the top of my head, so we're gonna actually have to go down and venture off into the world and get them. So that's true, but some trees have different IDs. Well, Well, I think there's a very specific example near the house portal, right? Isn't there like one tree that you can't actually reach, but it has a different ID than the other ones? So in that case, you would want to have a different ID for it. let's see. Tree. I guess. Oi, oi, oi. True. Okay, so you're probably wondering what I did because there's a odd thing on my window now. So if you go up here on the screen on the game client and you click like this, the brackets and the slash mark there, it opens up this advanced debugger. Is this advanced debugger in Pro Edition only? Okay, so yeah, so go buy Pro Edition. Okay, anyway, so if you open up this button right here with Pro Edition, and you have different things right here. In this example, we'll see our area that we set. Remember, we set the area, and we set the position. So this is where it's going to walk to in this area. So let's see. I'll move this over just so it's out of the way. So wood cutting. So we'll go with Zach's idea. We'll just call it. We'll just use trees as the name. We won't use IDs for the trees, and I'll move that away so it's less obnoxious. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to say my player if area contains my player, and you can't see that. If area contains my player, log area1, and we'll zoom in so you can see what I'm actually talking about. If area contains my player, log area1, and if inventory is not full, because we don't want to interact with the tree if your inventory is full. So if inventory is not full, and we don't want to spam click the tree if we're already wood chopping, right? So you say if my player is not animating, and let's see what else. I guess, so this is a little bit redundant, but you could say like if my inventory contains the axe, um, because if for whatever reason your script breaks and you don't have an axe in your inventory, it's just gonna like spam click on the tree and you probably get banned. So you can decide if you want to add that or not. I'm just bringing it up as just like a fair warning that you could add like a million checks if you want to be safe, or you could add less and it'll still work as long as you write the script correctly. Um, so if my player is in the area, if my inventory is not full, if I'm not animating, um, which means I'm not actually swinging my axe at the tree, then we want to interact with chop down tree, interact with rs2 object, right up here, rs2 object, area filter. Interact with rs2 object area filter. So we want to specifically chop down trees only in area 1. Let's see. Interact with trees or tree? Tree. Move it over. Tree. Chop down. Log area 1. It's good. So in this example, it should just start swinging away at these trees. Oh, they did get discombobulated. What happened there? Oh my goodness. Yeah, 1, 2. All right, so if you didn't pick up on that, the method numbers get all jumbled up and caused issues. So let's see. So right now you can see it's not working correctly. So it is interacting with the tree, which is what we wanted to, and it is walking to the position which we wanted it to, but it's walking to the position when we're already in the area. So what we want to do is, what's it? Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to go back to uh, our pick wood cutting area, which we set up before, and we want to say um, if our area contains my player lumber's bank. So we're going to decide where we're only going to walk to this position if we're at the lumber's bank. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So right now, see that's the walk to position, but it shouldn't walk there anymore because we're not at the lumber's bank. So right now it's just chopping away and it's going to keep doing that until the inventory is full. I'm going to pause it just so I could add the wood cutting area too. I'm getting to that point. Okay, so I'm going to add wood cutting area too. And Zach has a valid point. Walking back to the area if you leave it, we will add that. I just didn't get to it yet. So if my player is within area, you can't see the log area 2 if inventory is not full. So we're just copying pasting things down. And we have to fix the method numbers, but we'll do that in a second. If not animating, and we'll copy and paste this again to interact with, actually, excuse me, that's not true because we're using area specific interactions. So what we want to do is we want to go back up to RST object area filter and tree chop down, but in this case we want to use log area 2, not 1. We want to use 2. And we want to fix the method numbers. Let's see. Okay, so we have the whole method for getting the axe right here, picking the area we would cut in, banking the logs once we're at the bank, and wood cutting. What we don't have is walking back to the bank once our inventory is full, and we don't have returning back to the area if we leave it. So we'll add the walk to bank. So, I mean, what you could have done is I guess retroactively, what you could have done is included walking to the bank and bank logs where we organized it right here. But in this case, it will be a little out of organization, but we'll add it anyway. Call it walk to bank. So what we want to say is, we'll just be very broad here. If inventory is full, walk to position lumberage bank. Inventory is full. And what we want to say, if area does not contain my player lumberage bank, and I'll explain that in a second, then walk to position a lumberage, you can't see that, walk to position a lumberage bank, exact, break on death. The reason why I added this, if my player is not within area lumberage bank, is because what I suspect would happen is if you walk there and the bank is open, and it might just try to like spam walk to that position and then try to open the bank and go back and forth. So you don't really want that. You just want to walk there once and just do the banking and whatnot. So let's see. I mean, this in itself is a complete woodcutting script, so I could run it and show you. It'll just have its way with the trees and whatnot. But one of the things Zach mentioned, which I do add to my woodcutting script and other things too, I'll pause it, is walking back to the area. So I'll bring up the area so you can see it. So see how this is area woodcutting 1? Let's say, for example, it interacted with this tree right here. See how the tree is not in the area, but the script kind of depends on you being in the area. You want to walk back to the area. So what you could do is you could add, a method for walking back. So what you could say is, and we'll organize it just so you could see what I'm talking about. We'll call it like walk back to area. What? No, that's if I'm in the lumberage bank. It's not if I'm out of it. Oh. I'll show them both. So what you could do is you could copy things down. So we have two positions, or excuse me, two wood cutting areas. So you could say, that did not copy down correctly. If integer is 1 and our area does not contain my player, log area 1, and the method numbers are wrong. And you copy things down again. Walk to position log area 1. You could also just include this up here. So you could say add new line, other, variable, or and then you just add this under this. So copy it up. And that's basically the same thing. So let me delete this. What this is going to say is if you're in the Lumbridge bank and your inventory does not contain logs, it's going to walk to this, I'll show you, this position here. Likewise, if you happen to wander out of the woodcutting area, it's going to walk back to the position right here. So, or is just saying it completes these steps and then it does the action if it meets all the requirements, or it does these ones below, et cetera, et cetera. So you could stack a bunch of ores um, under one or before one method if you want. It just kind of cleans it up, and both are right. But if you want to clean it up, you definitely could uh, do that if you like. And so we have to add that for the woodcutting area too. So we're just copying, pasting things down. Woodcutting area 2. Oh, yes, sir. Apologies. Okay, is that good? So we're copying down things again. So we have if area, woodcutting area is 2, if player, so you want to right click, add new line. If my player area does not contain my player, log area 2, then it'll walk to the position somewhere over here where log area 2 is. Let's make sure I did all the method numbers correct. It does look right. One of the things you'll probably notice if you walk over to area 2 is there's a sheep. No, there's a mugger right here who will attack you. So where's the mugger? So the way we set it up is area 2 happens to have a mugger in it, which is the guy over here, and he'll attack you, and he's a higher level than you. So what we want to do is, I want to see where the position is first. Okay, it's not too bad. See, he's going to attack me in a second. So what we want to do is we want to create a run away from method, like run away from the mugger, and then run back. So one will create a position first. This could be our runaway to area right here. So I'll go back. No, I'll leave it like that. Okay, so we want to create a position. So remember before I was going to the website and like pulling positions that way? Another way you could pull a position is other variables, position, create new position, current position. And that will give you a window like this. And so instead of typing the coordinates, it will pick exactly where you are, and then you just name it. Call it like safe spot or something. Safe spot, position. So you see the safe spot right there? So the concept is we're going to be woodcutting. Yeah, you can see it. The concept is we're going to be woodcutting up here. And if we get attacked, we're going to run to the safe position. Then we're going to sleep for like 10 seconds. And when I say by sleep, I mean the bot's just going to like AFK chill there for 10 seconds so the mugger leaves you alone. Then it's going to run back and continue woodcutting. So we'll go to debug comment and call it, I guess, runaway. So we'll say if woodcutting area equals 2, if area contains my player, log area 2. If, and there's different options here, I'll show you them. You could say, let's see, if fighting, I don't know if that's considered you just being attacked or you have to type attack back to be considered fighting, but other options are if my player hit bar is visible, if my player is under attack. There's a couple options you could use. So we'll just pick like if my player is under attack. So if we're within area 2 woodcutting, if my player is under attack, then walk to position, safe spot, exact position, break on death. And we'll zoom in so you can see. So what we're going to do here is we're going to stack another method on here, sleep, which basically means your character AFKs. It doesn't actually go to sleep, it just AFKs. Your different options here, millisecond, second, minute, hour. We're just going to do like 10 seconds. And then more stacking. Let me think. Yeah, more stacking. Which one is it? Position log area 2. So what we have here is it's under attack. It walks to the safe space, which it's currently at now. It AFKs for 10 seconds, and then it walks back to the woodcutting position, and it continues woodcutting. So we could simulate that. And just for the sake of showing you timers, I'll show you a different way, but we'll try to simulate. Oh yeah. Let's see. It's I have to manually set it to area 2 because it's set on 1 right now because let's see. I'll just manually set it. So right now it's just going to walk to the position area 1 because it still thinks it's on that, but then it's going to run and do area 2 now. That's not normally part of the script. I just manually set it that way so you could hopefully see my character being beaten by a mugger and testing out the runaway feature. We could try to lure it, I guess. I'll try to lure it so it comes over here, and then I'll turn the script on. There you go. So see how it's running away? And remember this is stacked, right? So it's going to immediately go to the sleep 10 seconds, and it's going to run back. The obvious problem is now he's there, and he's probably just going to keep attacking you, and you're going to like run back and forth constantly. So like if you want to make your script a little more advanced, like world hopping, for example, maybe he's not there anymore in a new world. So yeah, it just goes back and continues the wood cutting. What you could do is you could do a timer, and I'm just mentioning this because I haven't mentioned timers yet, and I figure I might as well bring up the topic. So we're going to create a timer called safe spot, which simulates what we already created, but it's a little more uh, unnecessary, but it's a concept that you could use in other places. So we'll call it safe spot, time 10 seconds, 10 seconds, random deviation. We're not going to add a random deviation, but what that would do is you could say, you turn it on and you say like, I want it to be between plus or minus 2 seconds. So potentially the timer could be 8 seconds, or it could be 12, or anywhere in between. But in this case, we're not going to use that. So we created a timer called safe spot, and so we're going to go back and zoom in so you can see. We're going to delete this stacked part right here where we have sleep and walk to. So now the only thing it's going to do is it's going to walk to the safe spot. So what we're going to say is we're just going to pretend we just ran away from the mugger, right? So we just ran away, we're at the safe spot, and what we're going to say is if my player position is equal to safe spot, other variables, timer, start timer, safe spot. And what that's going to do is instead of the 10 seconds that we stacked on top of the method before, now it has its own like little separate timer, which I mean it's a little unnecessary for this, but timers are a very important concept that you can use for other parts of your script, and I just wanted to bring it up now so you get an idea of what they do. But yeah, so we run here, it starts the timer, and then let's see, if my player position is equal to safe spot, so we're still at the safe spot, other variables, timer, if timer is not running, safe spot, and then we'll copy and paste, walk to position log area 2. So does that make sense? It's a different concept, but it does the same thing. Are there any questions? Okay. What we could do, I could start like adding things to this, I guess, so you can kind of see like what else, what kind of different spices there are. So you could say comment world hop. So remember I mentioned the concept of if you're here at the safe spot and you run back, potentially the mugger could still be there and attack you, and you're like running back and forth constantly and you're not getting anything done at all. What if you world hop and the mugger is not there anymore? So we'll add a world hop to this script. So what you could say is let's see, how do I want to do this? World hop. Yeah, we could do that. Let's add a boolean. So we want to go to variable, boolean, create new boolean. Now, if you don't know what a boolean is, it's basically true or false, and you set it as true or false based on certain conditions, and you could alternate it back and forth. So just because it's true right now doesn't mean it's constantly going to be true. You could edit it to false based on a certain conditions. You could go back and forth. One thing I will say about booleans is if you're going to use them, which you more than likely will with your scripts, I would try to be consistent with how you use them. And what I mean by that is when you create a boolean, in this case we'll have we'll call it hop world. Okay. In this case we have a boolean called hop world. It's when you load up the script right now, see how it says false? When you load up the script, it's going to load as false. The boolean is going to be false. When it's true, that means we're under attack by the mugger. We're going to set it to true. We're going to world hop, and then we're going to set it to false. Where I'm going with this is if an example, a script where you're restocking supplies at the Grand Exchange. This is a common one I use. If you're restocking things at the Grand Exchange and you want to check your bank to see if you have the item or not, I suggest being consistent with saying my bank does not have this item, set it as true, or my bank does not have this item, set it as false. What I mean by that is, say for example, you have a, um, I don't know, a rune crafting script, right? And you have to restock rune essence. In your rune crafting script, you have it set to, if I need rune essence, set it to true. True meaning, yeah, let's go buy the rune essence. It's true, I need it. But then you have a hunter script saying, I don't have a bird snare. That means it's false. I need it. It's set to false because I do need it. Um, does that make sense? Like you want to try to be consistent with how you decide to say you don't have something in your script with booleans. Yeah, and some of my scripts they're like that, and that's why I bring it up because it can be confusing. So it's better to just get in the habit where you're just like, yes, if I don't have this item in my bank, then it's true I don't have it, or it's false I don't have it, and I have to buy it and set it as true. So just pick whichever one you want. I'm not saying one is right and one's wrong, but just try to be consistent with what you do. In this case, we're going to set it as false for world hop. And we have to retroactively go back and add, um, for the walk to position, we have to add boolean is false. So variable, you can see this right. Okay, boolean, variable boolean, get boolean value, hop world false. And remember, it's only going to be false because we're not under attack anymore. And not only are we not under attack, but we hopped worlds and we're not under attack. So let's see. We also have to retroactively go back to um, where we're running to the safe spot, and we're actually going to stack here. Um, walk to safe position, right click, add new line, other, variables, booleans, variable booleans, edit boolean. So in this case, we're editing it, and we're going to set it as true. So right now what we have is you're under attack, you run away to the safe spot, you set hop world boolean as true, which means you're telling the script, hey, we need to hop worlds. Let's see. In this case, we're not going to have the timer because the time it takes to hop worlds is probably more than 10 seconds anyway. So we're going to delete the timer out of this. We're at the safe spot. The boolean is set to true to hop worlds. And now we have to add the world hop. So what you want to do is if my player is at the safe spot, we're just copying and pasting things down. Get boolean value, other variables, booleans, get boolean value, hop world equals true, other worlds, hop to random, and it'll just auto detect free to play or pay to play, so you don't have to be too specific. Hop to random world. And again, we're going to stack here. We're going to set the boolean to world hop as false because we just hopped. Edit boolean, world hop false. I will say though that this will more than likely work because usually world hopping doesn't fail, but um, in certain situations, if you stack it like this, it's always going to set the boolean to true or false, even if it doesn't, example, hop worlds. So your script might break if you stack things without checks. Does that make sense? Yeah, so you just want to be careful about that. Usually hopping worlds is kind of safe and consistent, but just be careful. Set Boolean world hop false. And then this is a little out of order, but if you go up one, if we're at the safe spot, we can delete the timer because we're not using that. If Boolean world hop is false, then we go up again, walk to, we'll go way up actually. Walk to, walk to position log area 2. Um, and so we do want to add the check for the booleans for this. So we want to add lines if boolean is false. Get boolean value, hop world false. Did I say that right? Yeah. And I would add it to both. So it's a little out of order, but it kind of, since it reads it from the top down, it kind of, it it works. So we could just show that it works by punching him in the face. No, it will fixate on walking to the bank. It won't like say, hey, I'm on this tile. Let's world hop. It won't do that. Let's play. All right, you don't attack me. Spazzing out. Here we go. You can see right. Yep. Okay. So now it's gonna run away. It's gonna set the boolean to hop world true. It's going to world hop. If you could figure out how to do it. And then it should run back and continue on its woodcutting adventures. So let's see. So like some of the stuff in here, like this Boolean, setting it to like world hopping. I mean, you could like design the script so it doesn't even have to do that in the first place. You could make your script as complex as you want or not. I was just trying to like cover a variety of topics so you could see different things.